Story 1. I found out what my town really celebrates on Easter Sunday. I seriously hate Easter. And it all goes back to that dusty, forgotten town. I know what they do there. I know what they are. This is the story of what happened on an Easter Sunday years ago. How I lost my childhood. How I stopped trusting people. And how I learned to resent my father. I had just turned 16. Raised by a single dad. Our relationship was strained. He blamed me for my mother's passing. She died the day I was born. My birthday had always felt like her funeral. We didn't celebrate it. Not really. And honestly, I didn't care. It all felt hollow, like going through the motions just to pretend life was normal. Back then, we lived in a cramped 2-bedroom apartment until my dad finally got a job that paid well enough for us to upgrade. He bought us a modest but decent house in a quiet little town across the state line. Before I knew it, we were packing boxes and driving through unfamiliar roads on a gray April morning. I watched my old world fade in the rearview mirror, the streets I grew up on disappearing into fog and endless pine trees. Somewhere along that long drive, he turned to me and said he wanted to fix things. Start over. Do it right this time. I remember shrugging, eyes still locked on the window. I'd heard those promises before. When we finally pulled into the town, it looked like something from a postcard. Quaint homes with flower beds. Old trees lining the roads. Pastel shutters. Friendly smiles. The kind of place that seemed too perfect to be real. We reached the new house and started unpacking. For the first time in a long while, I felt something close to excitement. Maybe there was a chance. Maybe things really could get better between us. That night, some neighbors invited my dad to a welcome meeting. Just him. I wasn't invited, but the stubborn teenage part of me didn't like being left out. Curiosity pulled me in, and boredom sealed the deal. I snuck out after him, creeping through the quiet, dark streets, until I found the town hall. The back windows weren't latched. One was cracked just enough for me to hear. Most of it was small talk. Boring, polite conversation. But then I heard something that made me stop breathing. The town, an older man said, his voice calm, smooth, and rehearsed, has enjoyed good fortune for a long time. People meet their partners here. Promotions come quickly. The crops are tall, and the seasons are kind. I pressed closer, my heart pounding. But when it's unhappy, he continued, we see the opposite. Clouds that don't leave. Crops that rot. Accidents. Illness. Everything turns gray. A heavy pause followed. The entire room seemed to hold its breath. So when we receive new neighbors, the man added, especially someone like yourself, we believe it's important to explain the situation. And to understand it's all for the greater good. That was when I heard my father. Sobbing. Soft and deliberate, like he was trying to hold it back. I had never heard him cry before. I leaned closer, trying to see, but before I could get a look, the talking stopped. The crying stopped. Dead silence. I bolted. Ran all the way home through empty streets, adrenaline crashing through my body. I didn't stop until I was under the covers, trembling. When he returned later that night, he wasn't the same. He smiled too much. Said too little. He moved like he was wearing his own face as a mask. His eyes were hollow. His jaw clenched. His mouth stretched into a grin that never touched his eyes. Something was wrong. But I couldn't name it. The next day, he told me about the town's annual Easter egg hunt. Said they needed help setting it up. Volunteers usually laid out eggs for the younger kids to find. The hunt would take place in the woods just outside of town. He said I should help. Asked what I thought. I argued. Said it sounded ridiculous. He pushed back. Said it would help me meet people. It's good for the kids, he told me. Sam, come on. Get out a little. This could be special. What finally convinced me? A $20 bill. 20 lousy dollars. That's what it took. Not just for me to agree, but for him to offer it. I had never been handed money by my father directly before. I took it, feeling like I had just won something important. I was a teenager, hungry for approval, desperate for attention, and I took the bait without hesitation. The week passed in a blur. The townsfolk were welcoming. Almost too welcoming. Adults waved when I walked past. They already knew my name. They asked questions as if I had always belonged there. But the kids. They stared from behind curtains. Some peeked through cracked doors. Others just watched from porches, unmoving. None of them smiled. They looked at me like I was already gone. When Easter morning came, it was drizzling. A thin, steady rain barely touched the ground. My dad sat in his chair by the window, silently watching it fall. I thought he was asleep. Maybe lost in thought, thinking about my mom again. But then he spoke, without turning around. "Thanks for doing this, Sam. The younger kids will appreciate it." He paused. I heard him swallow, thick and deliberate. "I'm proud of you for getting involved. Especially after just moving here." "Yeah," I said awkwardly. "So, what do I need to do?" He raised a hand and pointed toward the kitchen. On the counter. A few baskets filled with eggs. Take the trail into the woods. You'll see a tree with a pink ribbon tied around it. That's where the hunt happens. Keep it in that area. "All right," I said. Seemed simple enough. I had always liked being out in nature. It used to calm me, back when things felt less heavy. I grabbed the baskets and headed to the door. Just as I stepped outside, he spoke again. Softer this time. "Sam." I looked back, but he still didn't turn. "Happy Easter." I said it back. Then I left. That was the last time I ever heard my father's voice. The rain tapped gently against my coat. Pat. 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 I pulled my hood tighter, mounted my bike, and started toward the woods. Despite the sun's best efforts to pierce through the clouds, the town felt still. Empty. Like it had taken a deep breath and hadn't let it out yet. A ghost town with flowers in the windows. I rode alone, accompanied only by the soft hiss of my tires on wet pavement and the steady whisper of the rain. Oddly, it calmed me. And for a fleeting moment, I felt good. Maybe the kids would appreciate what I was doing. Maybe this was worth more than the $20 my dad had given me. Maybe they would finally stop looking at me like I didn't belong. When I reached the trailhead, I leaned my bike against the old wooden post and stepped into the forest. The trail began calmly enough. Rain tapped the leaves overhead, creating a steady rhythm. The scent of wet bark and moss filled the air. Hidden animals chirped and rustled somewhere beyond sight. Eventually, I came to a tree with a faded pink ribbon tied loosely around its trunk. The knot had long since sagged. The color had been drained by years of weather. Beyond it, there was barely even a trail. Just wild undergrowth stretching into the mist. A flicker of unease crept into my mind. Don't get lost. So I started leaving eggs behind me as I walked. Some I tucked beneath low-hanging branches or under clusters of leaves. Others I left visible, in case the younger kids needed help finding them. Or in case I needed to find my way back. Here and there, I spotted eggs already scattered along the way. Old. Faded. Forgotten. Not hidden particularly well. Maybe no one had ever come back for them. The rain thickened as I moved deeper into the woods. The canopy above grew denser, the daylight turning gray and cold. I flicked on my flashlight, wondering if the kids would even be able to hunt today. That thought was interrupted by a sudden crunch beneath my boot. I looked down. A crumpled Easter basket. Some eggs still inside. Faded. Waterlogged. My breath caught in my throat. Why would someone drop a full basket like this? That voice from earlier returned. Because they ran. A sharp jolt of fear hit me. My chest tightened. I lifted the flashlight and slowly scanned the woods. Time to go, I thought. Then. Crunch. Snap. The sound of branches bending. Foliage shifting. Something large was moving nearby. I spun toward the sound, my flashlight trembling in my grip. The beam flickered. Then died. The batteries were fresh. I knew they were. A silhouette emerged. Massive. Easily the size of a pickup truck. Its fur rippled in the wind, barely visible through the mist and trees. Two enormous ears twitched upright, slowly rotating in my direction. I took a step back, my heart pounding against my ribs. Then lightning cracked through the sky. Brief. Blinding. And in that instant, I saw it. A monstrous bunny. But wrong. Its teeth jutted out in a sickly yellow, chipped and gnawed. Dark stains clung to its muzzle like old, dried paint. Its eyes bulged, wild and bloodshot. One was glazed over, milky and lifeless. The other locked directly onto me. It foamed at the mouth. Its breath came in short, rasping puffs. Crooked whiskers curled like twisted wires from its patchy, rotted fur. Its claws, long and gnarled, dug deep into the dirt beneath it, flexing and twitching as if searching for something. It didn't move. It just stared. Then the lightning faded. And I was left standing in the dark with its silhouette. I ran. Screaming. Crying. Desperate. The storm howled above me, wind ripping through branches. I tripped over roots, slipped on soaked moss, crashed through low brush. I followed the trail of eggs, praying it would lead me out. Behind me, it moved. Thundering. Stomping. Squealing, a high-pitched, mind-shattering shriek that pierced my eardrums and rattled every bone in my body. I ran. Not looking back. Not daring to. A few times, I swore I could feel it. Right behind me. Breath hot against the back of my neck. Ready to grab me. Shake me until I was nothing but a broken toy. I kept running. Branches scraped my arms. The rain blinded me. My lungs burned like they were about to split open. I collapsed at the edge of the woods, near the trailhead. Fell face first into the mud. Scrambled onto my back, scooting backward, heart hammering so loudly I could barely hear anything else. And then I saw them. Eyes. Two of them. Watching from the darkness of the trees. Unblinking. Then they disappeared. I hauled myself onto my bike, panting. Soaking wet. My leg bleeding from scrapes I barely felt. I was ready to scream. Ready to warn the town about what lived out there. But then I looked down the street. Almost every house had its lights on. Silhouettes stood in windows. Watching. Waiting. That was when it clicked. They knew. They had always known. I didn't take the road home. I pedaled through the back streets. Through alleys. Through woods. I didn't stop until the town was behind me. I ran. It wasn't easy. It never has been. Years passed. Shelters. Sidewalks. Borrowed beds. I didn't know how to tell my story. Didn't think anyone would believe it. Eventually, luck found me. Grotesque, terrifying luck, but luck all the same. A reminder that I wasn't part of that place anymore. I found an okay job. A crummy apartment. I met a few others at the shelter who became something like friends. Curiosity got the better of me one night. I looked up my dad on Facebook. He has a new wife. 2 daughters. A big, beaming smile on his face. His first daughter. Forgotten. Every Easter, I think about the shriek in the woods. About which kid wasn't lucky enough to escape. I still check the weather forecast for that town. Just to see. This morning, it was raining. But now? An unexpected burst of sun. Not a cloud in the sky. A beautiful day, they say. I really, truly hate Easter. Story 2. I found a note in my old jacket. It was from me, but I don't remember writing it. It all started with something simple, cleaning out my closet. It's one of those chores I kept putting off, but today, I finally decided to deal with it. My closet's a chaotic mess, old clothes from college, jackets that don't fit anymore, random knickknacks I've gathered over the years. You know the kind. I reached for a jacket I hadn't worn in ages, one that was a little too tight now but reminded me of simpler times, walking across campus, hurrying to class, feeling like life was still just beginning. I pulled it from the very back of the closet, dusted it off, and immediately noticed something strange. There was something inside one of the pockets. I don't recall ever putting anything there. I honestly couldn't remember the last time I even wore this jacket, but finding something hidden inside felt oddly nostalgic, and unsettling at the same time. It was a small, folded piece of paper. The kind that felt aged yet still strangely crisp. I unfolded it, half expecting an old receipt or a ticket stub from some forgotten concert. Instead, it was a handwritten note. In my handwriting. I froze. It wasn't just the way I used to write years ago, it was my writing, unmistakably mine. But I had no memory of ever writing this note. The message was short, clear, and eerily calm. It said, "Do not open the door at 3:23 a.m. Don't respond to the knock." My skin went cold. Instinctively, I glanced at the clock. 3:22 a.m. I blinked and checked again. Still 3:22 a.m. My heart raced. How could this note exist? How could it be tucked away in a jacket I hadn't touched for years, only for me to find it now? The timing was too perfect. Too deliberate. The air in the room felt heavier, thicker, like the walls themselves were leaning in closer. I thought about throwing the note away, pretending I never found it. But something deep inside told me to keep reading. There was more. I'm serious. The knock will come. It will start soft, almost like a whisper. It will get louder. Do not open the door. It's not you on the other side. The words made my head spin. Before I could even process them, I heard it. A knock. At first, I thought I imagined it. It was soft, barely there. Like the sound of a fingernail tapping gently on wood. I stared at the door. No one should be here. I live alone. Nobody had a key. Nobody knew I was even awake at this hour. I checked the clock again. 3:23 a.m. Exactly the time the note warned about. For a moment, everything inside me screamed to move, to run, to do something. But I stood frozen, heart pounding so loudly it felt like it echoed through the entire apartment. Another knock. This time, firmer. Not aggressive, but deliberate, patient. Like whoever, or whatever, was outside knew exactly how to make me hesitate. I didn't dare move closer to the door. Instead, I stood in the center of the room, clutching the note, listening to the slow, steady tapping continue. My mind scrambled for explanations. Maybe a neighbor. Maybe it's the pipes making noise. Maybe I'm just tired and imagining it. But deep down, I knew. This wasn't ordinary. I've heard plenty of strange stories. I've even told a few myself. But this? This felt targeted. Personal. As if someone, or something, knew exactly what I feared. The knocking continued, slow and rhythmic, every few seconds. Sometimes faint, sometimes louder, as if the visitor grew impatient but never angry. Patient. Knowing. Waiting. I thought about the final line of the note, "It's not you on the other side." What did that even mean? I wanted to look through the peephole. I wanted to shout and tell whoever it was to leave. But some deep instinct told me not to engage. Not even to acknowledge it. The longer I stayed silent, the more the knocking seemed to fade, as if losing interest, only to start again with a renewed, eerie patience. Now, I'm sitting here, writing this down because I don't know what else to do. I don't know who to call or what to believe. I'm afraid to move. I'm afraid to even breathe too loudly. If the note was right about 3:23 a.m., what else might it have been right about? And if I wait long enough, what happens next? I don't know. But I'm too afraid to find out. Are you still here? Then you're one of us now. Like, subscribe, and return tomorrow. The horror never stops.